Hello, hi, a very happy good evening. So this is Krishna Ma'am and we've been talking about the story of life on earth, and that's biology. So welcome to my new beginning series. So as a part of new beginning series, so we are talking about genetic disorder, which comes under the chapter principles of inheritance and variation. So this would be the last lecture in that chapter. So today we are going to say a goodbye to that chapter. So we have easily broken it into very simple and very crisp parts so that the chapter is easy to study and revise now. So if you're going to watch the recorded lecture also, it's pretty easy. So the important concepts, I have solved problems, so it's easy for you to revise the chapter quickly. So without much further delay, let me announce on Friday we are having a Menti quiz on the same chapter. So since I'm done with this chapter of principles of inheritance and variation, so Friday at 4:15 we'll have Menti quiz in the same chapter. So guys, please be ready. So it's genetics, so I'm going to give you 35 seconds for each question. So let's see how well you guys perform. Alright, yes. So shall we go into the most interesting part of the chapter, the last part. So always the last chapter, the last exam, it's pretty interesting, right? Because after that it's going to get over. So that is how the mindset of mine was when I was a child. Well, anyways, genetic disorder is interesting. So let me tell you how interesting it is. So let's go forward and check. Yeah, you have problems like color blindness, you have problems like hemophilia, but yes, it is easy, it is not tough. So that is the most interesting part of genetics. So you're tracing it down in the generation, so you can predict it, you know the probability, so it's life-saving sometimes, right? Sometimes you can also tell how the future generation is going to be. So I guess it's on the whole a very interesting topic. Hi innovation, hello, a very happy good evening. So I guess you're new to my lecture, so thank you so much for joining me today. So please do like, share and subscribe. So let's move forward and talk about genetic disorders. Right, so genetic disorders are divided into two types. The first type is your Mendelian disorders. The second type is your chromosomal disorder. So chromosomal disorder is easy to comprehend. So the name says chromosomal disorder. So there is a problem with the chromosome, with the set of chromosome that is being inherited. Sorry, the set of chromosome that comes in a particular person. Mendelian disorders talks about the mutation or a problem within the gene, and that gene gets inherited, because Mendel at the end of this day spoke about discrete factors that get passed on from one generation to the other, right? So these discrete factors were later called as genes. So Mendelian disorders are inherited, chromosomal disorders are not inherited. Fine. So Mendelian disorders include color blindness, hemophilia, sickle cell anemia, phenylketonuria and thalassemia. Ma'am, when you say inherited, they're all on the sex chromosome? No, so please don't generalize that. So I have not said so. So Mendelian disorders can be passed down to the next generation, but it can be the problem on the autosome as well as it can be the problem on the sex chromosome. So we have 23 pair. When I say we're talking about chromosome 6, so one copy of chromosome 6 comes from a father, one copy of chromosome 6 comes from the mother. So these autosomes can also carry technical mutations, thus leading to Mendelian disorders. On the other hand, chromosomal disorders are not passed down or inherited. That is due to the improper crossing over or non-disjunction of the chromosomes, right? So we have 23 pairs, so we should get one copy from mother, one copy from father. So what if you get two copies from father? What if you get two copies from mother, right? So that case, it is the chromosomal disorder. So we have Down syndrome, Klinefelter syndrome and Turner's syndrome. So first we're going to talk about we're going to talk about Mendelian disorders. The first one among that is your color blindness. Okay. So color blindness is a sex-linked recessive disorder. So I guess after our lecture on pedigree analysis, you guys know what is autosomal, you guys know what is dominant and what is recessive, right? So dominant comes when one of the parent is affected, recessive comes when both the parents are not affected. So when I say sex-linked recessive, the problem is with the sex chromosome, probably the X chromosome. So probably the problem is with the X chromosome and it's a recessive disorder. It is a defect in the red or the green cone of the eye So you have two types of photoreceptor cells, cones and rods. So cones are responsible for daylight and rods are responsible for the twilight vision. So when you have the problem in the cones, so you have a problem in differentiating whether it's green or red in color. So result is a failure to discriminate between red and green. So you and I can distinguish properly, but the person with color blindness will not be able to do so. So this is your color blindness, right? So it is a mutation of certain genes present on the X chromosome. So I hope you guys know the genes are now present on the chromosome. So now I have a question. If the father in the family has a disease while the mother is normal, the daughters are inherited by this disease and not the sons. Name this type of disease. So in the family, so we know pedigree analysis, I have taught you. So the father is deceased, okay, while the mother is normal, okay. So they have, say for example, they have 4 children. So the sons are not affected, only the daughters are affected. It means it is sex-linked dominant disease, okay. So directly, so it is sex-linked dominant. So one of the parent is affected, so directly the daughters are affected, right? Okay, so we saw a question based on color blindness. A colorblind man marries a woman with a normal sight who has no history of color blindness in her family. What is the probability of their grandson being colorblind? Ma'am, yes, the questions of this type are really irritating and I don't know how to solve because I've seen the reaction of many students. So now let's solve. It's not really tough. A colorblind man. So before we go and solve this question, please remember, if this is the condition, it means the man is colorblind. So if this is the condition, the woman is the carrier of color blindness. So in recessive, you have carrier, okay. So if this is the condition, the woman is also color blind. Okay, so now you understand these abbreviations, so we can solve. A colorblind man marries a woman. So the man is colorblind, so his genotype will be this. So he marries a woman who has no history of color blindness in her family. So probably this means she is normal X and X, right? So what is the probability of their grandson being colorblind? So let's assume she has 2 kids, okay. So now let's assume she has 2 daughters and she has 2 sons, okay. So now what will be the genotype of the sons? So from here I have 1 gamete, from here I have 2 gametes, okay. So I write XCX, I write XY. So probably the daughters are XCX and the sons are normal. Fine. Now, what is the probability that the grandson is colorblind, right? So suppose if he marries a normal woman, so their children will not be affected, right? But she is a carrier, right? So here you have to consider, so if she marries a normal man and if they have 2 sons and 2 daughters, so what will be their case? So it is XCX, XY. So probability of the grandson being colorblind is 25%. So 1 out of 4 is 25. So 25% is probability that the grandson of this parental generation will be colorblind, right? So this is how you solve. The next disease is hemophilia. So hemophilia is pretty common even in today's generation. So it's again a sex-linked recessive. Please understand, always sex-linked is recessive. So we'll be talking about 2 sex-linked diseases and both of them are sex-linked recessive. Alright, so the sex-linked recessive disease is transmitted from unaffected carrier female to some of the male progeny. So mostly when it is sex-linked, the female in a progeny will be carriers and males will be affected ones. Okay, so once again, if it is sex linked, the males will be affected and the females will be carriers here, right? Okay, so what happens exactly in hemophilia? So a protein that is involved in the clotting of blood is being blocked. Okay, so that protein does not allow the blood to clot because the gene that is coding for that protein is not present. So this is your entire clotting cascade, and one of the protein is mutated or one of the protein is not functioning properly, the entire process is affected. So you have non-stop bleeding because when you get hurt, your blood oozes out, but within minutes it controls, right? Because your blood is able to clot. But a person with hemophilia, it never clots, so you have continuous bleeding. So Queen Victoria of England, of the Great Britain, so she was a carrier of hemophilia. So all the men in her family were suffering from hemophilia, right? Okay, so so then we move to sickle cell anemia. So sickle cell anemia, so we are done with sex-linked diseases. So sickle cell anemia is autosome-linked recessive. So autosome means a mutation in chromosome other than the sex chromosome. So when both the parents are carriers for the gene, so when it is a recessive condition, only this is affected. These are carriers, these are normal, right? So this is autosomal recessive condition. So for example, when I say for sickle cell anemia, so when I write like this is normal, this is disease. So this is my allele. So this means the parent is the carrier. If I write both as HBS and HBS, it means they are affected with sickle cell anemia. So in sickle cell anemia, the blood cell, which is normally biconcave shape, changes to sickle shape. So there is a point mutation from GAG to GUG. Fine. So this is what happens. So now let's move forward. So next is phenylketonuria. So I have already described what is phenylketonuria. It is an inborn error of metabolism. It is also inherited as autosomal recessive trait. So lack of an enzyme which fails to convert phenylalanine to tyrosine thus leads to the accumulation of phenylketonuria and in the form of phenylpyruvic acid. So this leads to mental retardation. So this is also autosomal recessive trait. Alright. Okay. So thalassemia. So we'll finish off thalassemia and then I will summarize it for you. So autosome-linked recessive blood disease which is transmitted. Once again, this is autosomal recessive. So it can be a mutation because of a deletion. So you have two subunits of hemoglobin, alpha subunit and beta subunit, right? So when you have a mutation in the alpha subunit, so that is on chromosome 16 that is getting affected. So when you have a mutation in chromosome in the subunit beta, that is on chromosome 11. Right? So this is your thalassemia. So I have a question for you. If both the parents, so before we go to the question, so let me summarize it for you. So we are talking about Mendelian disorders, right? So Mendelian disorders can be sex-linked or autosomal, right? So sex-linked, we only spoke about recessive condition. So we spoke about two diseases. One is your color blindness and the other one is your hemophilia. Right? And your autosomal, again we spoke about recessive condition. So the first one is your sickle cell anemia. The second one is your thalassemia. Your third one is your phenylketonuria. So these are the genetic or the Mendelian disorders that we have been talking. So in case of sex-linked recessive, males are affected and females are carriers. So in case of autosomal recessive, these are normal individuals, these are carriers, and these are affected individuals. Fine? Okay. So now we go forward to solve the question that we're supposed to solve. Where is the question? Yeah, here comes the question. If both the parents are carriers for thalassemia, so thalassemia is an autosomal recessive disorder, what are the chances of pregnancy resulting in an affected child? So if both the parents, thalassemia is an autosomal recessive disorder, so in this condition carriers will be like this. So the mother and father both are carriers for this thalassemia, which is autosomal recessive disease. And suppose, say if they have any child. So what are the chances that this child will be affected? Will not be carrier, they are asking will be affected. Right? Okay, hello Shimpi. Yes, a very happy good evening. I am super good. How are you? So thank you so much for joining me this evening. So it's really great to meet you. So I'm so happy that you still remember me. Thank you so much, Shimpi. So how are you? How is your life going on? How are your school classes? You're enjoying? So you are in 12th standard, right? Oh, you're giving me the answer. Oh, you still remember. Wow, very good. Okay. So we just have to use the cross. So only this population will be affected. So this is the normal person. These two are carrier people and only this is affected. Right? So among the four, one is affected. So it is 25% probability that the child will be affected. Yes, you're fine and thank you. Okay. Oh, you cannot forget me. So that's really a pleasure. Compliment. Thank you. So even I can never forget you. How is Munna? Hi ma'am. Yes, so very happy good evening. So thank you so much for joining my lecture today. So please do like, share and subscribe. Oh, you're still in 11th. Okay, I thought very quickly you moved to 12th. Okay, you're in 11th. So which chapter in biology they are teaching you? But you know all the lessons before, right? So it should be easy for you. So which chapter they are teaching you, Shimpi? Alright, so that's really nice to have you. So the right answer here would be 25%. So let's move forward. So now we're going to talk about chromosomal disorders. So chromosomal disorders are not inherited. Absence or abnormal arrangement of one or more chromosome leads to chromosomal disorder. She is also fine. Okay, so say hi to her on my behalf. So aneuploidy, so chromosomal disorder is when you have one extra chromosome or when you have one chromosome less. So together we have 46 chromosome. What if a person has 47 chromosome or 45 chromosome? Okay. They are teaching you locomotion, so you have muscle movement, so you have bones, you have joints and you know it well, right? So you are already thorough in locomotion, so please do really well, so they should be surprised with your performance. Alright Shimpi, all the very best and thank you once again for joining my YouTube class today. Right, so what if we have one chromosome extra or one chromosome less? What if a person has 47 chromosomes and 45 chromosomes? So in that case, we call it as aneuploidy, gain or loss of a chromosome. So there are two types of aneuploidy. One is trisomy, one is monosomy. So trisomy is when you have 3 copies of a particular chromosome. So we have 23 pairs. So we have 2 copies of each chromosome. So what if you have 3 pairs and what if you have only 1 pair? So these are the different types of aneuploidy. Apart from aneuploidy, you can also have polyploidy. So polyploidy is the increase in the whole set of chromosome number. Suppose if I am 2n, in polyploidy you will have 4n. So polyploidy is usually not seen in humans, it is usually seen in plants. So plants can have more than 2 sets of chromosomes, right? Hi Natasha, yes, a very happy good evening. So thank you so much for joining my lecture. So please do like, share and subscribe. So guys, so today I'm going to finish genetics. I'm almost towards the end of genetics. So on Friday 4:15, so we are going to have a Menti quiz in genetics. So probably we'll have only 20 questions and I'll increase the time to 35 seconds. So please do join for my Menti on Friday. Principles of inheritance and variation. Okay, fine. So let's move forward. So the first type of your chromosomal disorder is your Down syndrome. So in Down syndrome, you have an extra copy of the 21st chromosome. Oh, that's fine. It's completely fine. So yeah, so it was really nice bonding with you. It's really fine. I'm happy that you remember, so you don't have to watch my lectures daily. But whenever you get time, so do watch our recorded lectures because I have solved a lot of questions. So it might be of help to you. Thank you, Shimpi. Yes, so you have an additional copy of chromosome 21. So it is called as trisomy. Right? So it was first described by Mr. Langdon Down, so that is why it is called as Down syndrome. So here the fusion of a normal sperm happens with an abnormal egg. That is the reason. So probably the egg should be haploid, right? So what if the egg is diploid? Right? So it arises due to the abnormal non-disjunction. So the symptoms of the child that is born with Down syndrome is small round head. It is partially open mouth. So you can see from the appearance of the child itself, right? So next you have Klinefelter's syndrome. So when you have one extra copy of the sex chromosome, that is Klinefelter's syndrome. So they have 47 chromosomes, but they have XXY. So they have 2 X chromosomes. So overall they have a masculine development because of the Y chromosome. But since they have 2 X chromosomes, they also have the development of breast that is called as gynecomastia. So they are mostly men because overall they have masculine development, but these men are sterile, right? So the last of your chromosomal disorders mentioned in your NCERT are Turner's syndrome, where you have the absence of one X chromosome. So the person has only 45 chromosomes instead of 46 chromosomes. So here the overall development is female because you have one X, but the females are also sterile. Right? So this is a karyotype and the end result of a karyotype is an ideogram. So this is what came in your term 1 CBSE paper as well. So can you see you have 2 X chromosomes? So you find this when the child is inside the mother's womb. So you have 2 X and Y. So it refers to your Klinefelter's syndrome. So with this I am done with your genetic disorders. So on Friday we'll have a short Menti quiz to test your level of understanding in genetics. So I'll make sure I'll bring very easy questions. So we'll be playing for 20 questions on Friday. Alright, so thank you so much. So I guess this is my last slide and I hope I have covered the entire chapter in a very sorted way. So please do study and get back to me on Friday. So Friday we're going to test your level of understanding and how well you can solve questions in genetics. So if you genuinely liked my video, so please do like, share and subscribe. So thank you so much for being with me this evening. So this is me signing off until for Friday at 4:15 to play the Menti. So thank you and have a great evening ahead. Bye guys.